here's Brody Brazil.
Well, there was a vote and a decision reached tonight in Jackson County, Missouri, that Kansas City sports fans are going to be talking about for quite some time. But it also has a significant impact on other sports communities across our country and the debate of public versus private funding for professional sports venues. Question 1, literally called Question 1, was on the ballot, and with 100% of precincts reporting, the sales tax for stadiums in Jackson County is voted no to the tune of 58%, 78,352 votes cast no, as opposed to 42% yes, 56,606 said yes. So this vote goes down as a no, but let's plainly explain what this was all about. It was this April 2nd vote. We've known this has been coming for quite some time. It would have extended a 3/8 cent sales tax in Jackson County for another 40 years. Now, this has been already going on for 50 years, in fact, more than that, but the current amount, the 3/8 cent sales tax in the county, it's been that way since 2006, and it's evenly split between the Royals and the Chiefs for Kauffman Stadium in baseball, Arrowhead Stadium, and football. And in recent weeks and months, the Royals had revealed their plans to leave the Truman Sports Complex entirely. They wanted to build a downtown stadium in Kansas City. We'll see that in just a second. And the Chiefs, they actually wanted to stay at the complex, the Truman Complex, but they wanted to upgrade Arrowhead Stadium. I'll show you that. Watch this, though.
What we're focused on is trying to make it simple. It's really simple. This is a better deal. These are not new taxes, and you keep both teams.
Could the Royals leave Kansas City, Missouri?
I can't answer that for the Royals. I just know that for us, the Chiefs, we would have to look at all of our options.
Do those options include leaving Kansas City, Missouri?
I think they would have to include leaving Kansas City, but our goal here is that we want to stay here. And we're willing to accept a deal, which is actually better for the county to stay here.
That was obviously the interview from a couple weeks ago before this vote happened. That was anticipating a yes and the hopes for a yes vote, which would give the Chiefs their public funding, which would help them upgrade Arrowhead Stadium. Obviously, it didn't turn out that way. And the Royals have already responded. Their chairman and CEO, John Sherman, he made some public comments. He actually took the podium, grabbed the microphone, but I'll just show you here in textual form what he said. Quote, "We respect the voters of Jackson County and the results of the election today. We will take some time to reflect on and process the outcome and find a path forward that works for the Royals and our fans." So you've got to imagine on both sides of pro sports in Kansas City, between the Royals and the Chiefs, there's a huge amount of disappointment. I mean, the Chiefs were talking about exploring other options outside Kansas City, Missouri, if in fact this didn't go through. And now I don't know where things go, but that's not the bigger point. I'll get to my takeaways later on. These were some renderings the Chiefs put out of what they wanted to do inside the stadium and the amenities they wanted to upgrade inside. They wanted to make this big tailgate area. They were planning to take over the baseball stadium's location because if it weren't in use, they would demolish it. They would get more acreage at the Truman Sports Complex. So they had grand ambitions of what they were already going to do. They laid out the plan of what they were going to do with that sales tax. So did the Royals. In fact, this was a brand new facility for them downtown. They'd be moving away. They'd be moving right next door to that T-Mobile Center, which is kind of an underutilized arena in downtown Kansas City. They were going to try and liven up downtown by bringing a ballpark there. And now, Mr. Sherman suggests that they'll try and figure out what's best, but there's got to be a lot of questions up in the air. You'd have to think they were largely banking on the fact that this was going to pass. It was a tax that already existed. It was a tax that didn't increase anything necessarily, but should it expire? I think it's 2031 is when it expires, or should it continue for that additional 4 decades? And turns out the voters said, no, it should not continue, and so it's done. And so it's interesting here. My takeaways begin with the 16% deciding factor. This wasn't close in one way or another, and maybe that's for the best. I mean, because if you get in a couple percent here or there, there's questions and controversy, and if it's not black and white like this, and I think 16% certainly gives you enough indication of how the voters feel, there's no question. There's no really circling back on this. They've made their statement. They've made their point. They want the Royals and the Chiefs to figure this out on their own, or they certainly don't want the sales tax to continue. This is how public referendums go when it comes to public funding for stadiums in 2024. If it goes to a public vote, even if there are benefits, the vote is going to be generally no in a lot of markets across the country. And you can say, well, certain regions might vote this way or that way. Kansas City is very supportive of their sports teams, and their sports teams have been very good to them over the years. But in this case, it just goes to show fans are not willing to go that far for their two teams and continue a sales tax to fund a new stadium for the Royals and the renovated stadium for the Chiefs. It's also interesting here that the baseball and football teams are totally linked on this, and they have been for decades. So this is nothing new, but the sales tax that they both benefited from went equally to them. And in a way, that's kind of the easiest thing to do, right? It's like if you have multiple kids, you want to spread the love evenly, get everybody their fair share. So the Royals couldn't say, well, the Chiefs are getting more or vice versa. In a way, doing this evenly 50-50 has always been good. But now the fact that it's going to disappear and dissipate, they've been linked for so long. They were kind of in this push together. They didn't get it together. Now what happens? Now, eventually, they might be separate entities trying maybe again for public funding. But, I mean, this vote just lost by 16%. So it wasn't even close when it came down to the public decision. But one of my biggest interest factors here is how this gets handled next. What happens next here in this situation? The Royals have already said, we're processing this. We'll figure it out. We want to do what's best. We'll move forward when we figure this out. Maybe the Chiefs will have a similar beginning statement, but at some point, which team gets a little bit more aggressive in trying to make their original plans happen? You don't think either team's going to back away from what they wanted to do, right? They're going to find a way to make it happen. You wonder, though, how they're going to arrive at the proper funding and financing for it. And I know what the easy answer is, yeah. If you wanted to do this, go ahead and pay for it yourself. And maybe it comes down to that. Maybe either the Royals or the Chiefs say, well, we want this so bad. Or in the Royals' case, they're here to tell you that the stadium is falling apart and it needs repair and it's beyond repair. The cost of building a stadium is way more efficient than trying to fix up Kauffman Stadium again. But how does this happen? What comes next to bridge where we're at now versus their ultimate destinies here? And does it really involve, and I hate to even go down this road, does it involve the baseball team and or the football team saying, well, you know what? We warned you. We gave you this vote. Now we're going to explore other options outside Kansas City, Missouri. And that's where it gets scary, right? This is a vote to continue the sales tax or not, to build on to the football stadium, to build a new baseball stadium. And now the teams are probably going to go about this one of two ways. Sensible, we'll figure this out, we'll get investors, we'll pay for this, whatever, or they can make threats that they might leave unless this isn't revisited from the public funding portion of it. So anyway, just wanted to give you those takeaways. I thought this was interesting. We've known this vote has been coming. I honestly anticipated it, all things considered, to be a lot closer or maybe even to pass because of the push, and the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl, and you get a lot of people kind of off guard in this situation. You throw them some fancy renderings and they'll bite. But in this case, the voters of Jackson County did not bite, and now it's up to the football team and the baseball team to figure out what's next and how they handle this. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me in this channel. And if you've never seen me before, if you're new to this channel, I appreciate it. I'm certainly glad you found me, but do me a quick favor. Make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button before you leave so I can definitely see you back here next time.